Welcome back to When Sunday Comes. Plenty of goals in this week's games. Two fantastic games for you. Let's kick off with a goal fest between Scrabble and Faithfold.
This was a clash between first and second, and with Scrabble needing a win to close the gap on Faithfold, they went about the opening half brilliantly. Within the opening 20 minutes, they were 2-0 up thanks to some calamitous defending, and Scrabble continued to dominate, creating numerous opportunities. It was Faithfold, however, who scored next against the run of play. David Louis, the smallest man on the pitch, managed to rise up against everyone else to nod in Avi Markowitz's corner to give them hope at the break. But that was short-lived as Scrabble restored their 2-goal cushion within a minute of the restart. At that point, it seemed almost impossible what was about to happen. It all seemed plain sailing from then on in, but an error from the Scrabble defence on the hour gifted Faithfold a chance to get back into the match again. Markowitz took the chance and his team never looked back. After that, it was all about the performances of David Louis and David Kisneris. Louis in particular took the game to the opposition and created chances at will. He set up the equaliser for Avi Markowitz before going on to score 2 quick-fire goals to complete his hat-trick. Scrabble's collapse was summed up by the 6th goal conceded, as a lapse in concentration from the goalkeeper gifted Kisneris a goal he duly deserved.
Incredible comeback from your boys today. 2-0 down, 3-1 down. What did you say to them at half-time?
I told them that we've come back before, and this game we were in the entire time. We let in a few mistakes, but there was definitely goals in us. Jewish football, anything can happen, and I knew we could come back, and I just made sure that we got the ball out wide to our wingers, to Kisneris and to David Louis. That's where all the damage will be done, and it was done all there.
A little mention to David Louis, who was man of the match today. What do you think of his performance?
He was disgustingly good. I mean, you rarely see someone that good perform like that. I mean, I'm not sure he got tackled once. He beat 5-6 men regularly. He scored 3 goals. He set up another one. I mean, unbelievable, unbelievable.
Unlucky for the defeat today. I thought you guys dominated the game for the first hour, and then you seemed to just drop your heads. Where do you think what went wrong?
Well, it's very much a game of 2 halves. We had the game there for the taking. We were 2-0 up. They had 2 players that were really on song today, the 2 wide men. And basically, second half, we just went to sleep for 20 minutes and the game got away from us.
And there were a couple of unchoice words at the end from one of your players. Do you have a comment to make?
Yeah, it's never acceptable to abuse a referee like that. It was a hard-fought game, and you know, we'll have words afterwards, and it won't happen again.
Now, you were both at the game. Was there anything in particular that impressed you? Any standout performances?
For me, David Louis was absolutely exceptional on the day. He took the game by the scruff of the neck in the second half. He scored a very important header just before half-time that turned the game and gave Faithfold some momentum going into the second half. Although Scrabble scored at the beginning of the second half, David then really stepped up, and some of his dribbles were unbelievable. His manager compared him to Lionel Messi after the game. David's diminutive player, he's I think 5'5" or so, very low centre of gravity, but he can cut in, he cuts out, he's 2-footed, he's really got everything, and on 3G, he just left the Scrabble boys on their backsides.
Lionel Messi. Now, was it a Barcelona-type performance, David?
I wouldn't say from the team performance, but I'd say again that individual players really changed the game. I think David Louis was one of the best performances I've ever seen in Jewish football. The second half performance, he was just weaving in and out of the players. There was no one could touch him, and any time he got the ball, you could sense there was going to be an attack, and there's going to be a chance for them to get back into the game, and so it told.
And now it's time for our second game between Catford and Bromley, an FC team.
FC team went into their game against Catford a point behind with a game in hand. But they got off to a dream start when Danny Moss's monster throw was flicked over the line by Mitch Young, although Catford boss Jeff Gotch was claiming it went straight in. Decide for yourselves. One became two soon after, when Giant striker Richard Salmon coolly fired past Guy Benaroya. With the bit between their teeth, FC team made it 3-0 when Mitch Young's low cross was slotted home by the onrushing Adam Rones at the far post. Young made it 4-0 with the goal of the game, a fantastic counter-attack. He just can't stop scoring at the moment. Catford looked down and out, but to their credit, they didn't let their heads drop, and the marauding Mitch Green scored 2 quick-fire goals to give them a lifeline. Jason Schoffman scored Catford's third to set up a grandstand finish, but it was FC team celebrating at the final whistle, despite Catford boss Jeff Gotch bemoaning some what he described as laughable decisions.
4-3, went down to 10 men and fell asleep.
Yeah, well, look, credit to Catford. You know, they scored a couple of good goals. You know, it can happen when they've got quality like Mitch Green up front, Jason Schoffman, and we weathered the storm. But I felt we were quite comfortable throughout the game up until that point. Probably should have scored a couple more goals. But yeah, proud of the guys for seeing the game out. And it was a big win. Sets up the top of the table clash against MH Dons next week. So yeah, overall, quite pleased.
And how do you think the other team felt about going down to 10 men and maybe the first goal?
I think it was a bit controversial, to be honest with you. I think they probably felt a bit hard done by, but there were clear touches. I'm sure the cameras probably picked them up.
Nice touch, yeah.
Yeah.
Get that in.
And I think they were just very wound up, really. I thought the referee did really well controlling the game, but I think it was just tough. Quite tough for him at the time when there were just so many people in his ear, and it's a bit controversial whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter, but it just got to them, and I think we took our feet off the gas a little bit at 4-0 up when they'd had a man sent off, and that gave them more impetus and they got a bit more wound up. But overall, credit to them to still be going, quite frankly.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.
4-3, quite a game. What went on there?
So it's a proverbial game of two halves. SC team had a dream start. They went 4-0 up, and Catford, to their credit, they didn't let their heads drop. They came back very strongly with Mitch Green impressive. First half, Mitch Young, the FC team player manager, he's had a new lease of life since his third child, and he's scoring goals for fun as he did in his JFS days. FC team, they've really had a strong run. They're only 3 points off the leaders, and if Mitch and Richard Salmon and some of the other boys can continue scoring the goals, they could have a very good second half of the season.
Welcome, Rob Schumann. I won't fine you for being late. I'm sure some players in the league would love to see that. Rob is on the Maccabi Management Committee and deals with fines, and also an ex-Faithfold manager.
Quite correct, Sam.
So, Rob, we've got you on here to tell us a really funny story you have about a very popular player in the league, Avi Markovic.
Well, some years ago, Avi used to play for me at Faithfold, and we always had a little bit of a problem with Avi because he never used to turn up on time, and he never used to kind of tell you to the last minute whether he was playing. But this particular weekend was Purim, and he turned up maybe 5 minutes before the game with a fantastic wig on and hair and makeup, and he had to go on that game playing with the wig and the makeup. I can't tell you what kind of comments he was getting during the game, but Avi, all credit to him, was absolutely great in that game. I love him, I think he's great, and I'm really pleased he's playing for Faithfold, and I'm really pleased he's running the team.
And I can't imagine the opposition's reaction. I mean, what were they like?
Well, first of all, when you see Avi, you don't expect what you're going to get from Avi. Avi gives you 110% most of the time. His passion is unbelievable. And when he plays, it's an exciting person to watch because you never think this little guy is going to actually perform the way he does. And he is a little goal machine, saying that. He's a great goalkeeper, saying that. He's a great midfielder. You can tell that I think he's a great player. And by the way, don't try and pinch him at the other team because he's not going anywhere.
But what would you say his best position is then?
I think his best position is scoring. I think he's an excellent forward. He gives you an opportunity. He gives the team he's playing for an opportunity to find him on the pitch and to give you that little bit extra up front. He's aggressive. He's a kind of player you don't like playing against. So defenders do not find it easy playing against him. And he knows where the goal is. He always wants to take the free kicks. He always wants to be involved. He's the kind of player, he's a great player for a manager. I love him.
And has he lived up to his expectations this season so far?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I think his passion for running the team is excellent. Even his team talks. I must say I taught him everything he knows, but, you know, his team talks are terrific. And you can't help but be passionate when you play and around Avi, because that's what he is. He's a great asset to Faithfold. And as I said, I'm really, really pleased he's back in the fold.
And that's what we like to see, passion from the teams. Thank you very much, Robert, for joining us.
Pleasure.
Danny, can you tell us who's won the monthly awards and who's impressed you in particular?
So let's start with Player of the Month. We've got Zach Lewis of Hendon United. He scored an incredible goal against Oakwood, won the match, and he's been solid for them in their 4 victories over November. Manager of the Month is Greg Corrin of Hendon United. 4 wins out of 4, including Oakwood and Raiders. And my goalkeeper of the month, a young man who's been standing head and shoulders above the rest, is James Harpin from Maccabi London Lions Blue. He kept a clean sheet against Camden Park, and he's been really solid and an impressive figure between the sticks.
Thought you were referring to Joe Hart there.
No chance.
And this week's champagne moment goes to David Louis for an unbelievable second half performance against Scrabble.
Danny, how are the league tables looking?
Brady Maccabi are 3 points clear at the top of the Premier Division with 5 wins from 8 matches. They also reached the semi-finals of the Cyril Anetstein Cup. Hendon are second on 13 points with 4 wins from 5 matches. Redbridge and Oakwood are also there or thereabouts. Division 1, Faithfold are starting to run away with it now with 7 wins out of 8. They're on 22 points. Scrabble's defeat was a big blow for them. Oakwood are closing the gap and still well placed. Division 2, Mill Hill Dons had an excellent November. They're 2 points clear, 8 games played. Bayern Minher have had a bit of a blip, but they're still in contention. FC Team and Catford, don't write them off just yet.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook and comment using the hashtag WhenSundayComes. We'll see you next time.